All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the OU Sports Podcast. A day late. Sorry, had some car troubles yesterday. But we got you a couple extra pods last week, given all the, Jeff Lebby news and Seth Luttrell hire and all of that. But guys, ton of stuff has happened since then. Bunch of transfer portal entries. You can check out our tracker on OUdaily.com. But um, you know, OU has already been pretty active in the transfer portal, offering a bunch of guys. Um, the North Texas offensive lineman, I don't really know how to pronounce his name, Fabichi Nwaiwu. Obviously, Seth Luttrell recruited him at North Texas. He's received an offer from OU. I think a couple of others. The Michigan State defensive lineman Spencer Brown, jumped in the portal obviously after all the turmoil at Michigan State, guys. But what have you guys thought just early on about the activity in the portal with both with guys leaving OU, but also more importantly for the Sooners, how aggressive, Brent Venables and new offensive coordinators Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley have been on the trail.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know Colton and I were kind of, or all of us really, were kind of losing our minds there for an hour when there were like five or six different guys who were going in the portal. I know you called a couple of them. Savion Bird was one that I predicted on the pod a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it's been an active time. I think you expect nothing less in the era of the transfer portal, and it'll be really interesting to see what kind of newcomers they get, whether they can get a really good tight end, maybe a receiver, who knows, and definitely some defensive additions as well, especially if there are some draft declarations here in the next few weeks. But we'll get on to talk about that. But yeah, very active start to the transfer portal season. And hey, Brent Venables' Twitter has been a little active too. So
Yeah, I would keep an eye on a certain Wisconsin wide receiver in the portal for the Sooners. But something else like I know fans have really speculated about, but I don't know about you guys, but all day long I've been seeing all of the Texas A&M portal entries, and given Elijah Robinson going to Syracuse, um, given Jimbo Fisher, who all these guys pledged to, is not there anymore. And given all of the guys that OU was kind of in on during their recruitments, how close Texas is to here, a lot of those guys being Texas recruits, I kind of wonder if OU is going to be really aggressive with a lot of those A&M players, but that's just speculation, and we will definitely see what happens there. But guys like
sorry, I definitely think that the OU is going to be really aggressive. I mean, A&M's got some talent. They've got plenty of
Hicks,
talent
is it
there.
Hicks, David Hicks, that was OU and A&M last year. So
Yeah, I mean, the A&M has plenty of talent, and you knew guys were going to start leaving eventually. Over the past couple days, it's been a little wild, and I expect it to continue and OU to go after a lot of those guys.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of everything you guys have said. Really, the only surprising transfer in my mind was, God, it was Dalen Smothers. I mean, they even only played him 3 games to try and keep his red shirt. I feel like he's the only 2023 guy that's defected so far from OU, but OU loses three running backs to the portal. That's going to be a pretty big position for them to fill, losing Tawi, Marcus Major, and obviously Dalen Smothers, who was a highly coveted 2023 back. Yeah, don't have much else to add other than you guys were right about a lot of the guys. I was also wrong on a lot. So yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if like running back is huge. I mean, at the end of the day, Tawi was huge, and that was a little bit surprising. At the end of the day, you still got Gavin Sawchuk, who's obviously your main guy going forward, and I think Taylor Tatum expect him to have a role here his freshman year. The only one I would say is kind of surprised me was Key Lawrence. I just didn't really predict him going, but it does set up, assuming Billy Bowman stays next year. You got Billy Bowman and Peyton Bowen in that
Yeah.
secondary at the safety spot. That bodes well for OU certainly. And Key definitely didn't have a great second half of the year. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I think at running back, it definitely helps when a five-star number one back in the nation at high school is coming, and probably a reason a lot of those guys jumped in the portal in the first place. But um, What else was I going to say here? Oh, yeah. So OU also has offered standout San Diego State cornerback Desjon Malone. I think Michigan State and West Virginia are in on his recruitment out of the portal as well. So that will be one to keep an eye on for the Sooners. I think going back to Jason's point, I think, not I don't really see many of these guys that entered as a huge surprise. I mean, OU really didn't even lose a starter, to be honest. I mean, Tawi started a bunch of games, but it was pretty much known Gavin Sawchuk's the guy moving forward. Savion Bird started a couple games, but just been pretty inconsistent throughout his time here. Key Lawrence started a couple games, but like Lewis said, got benched halfway through the year. So I think the broader point OU fans are going to see all of these portal entries and be like, what the hell's going on? But I think for OU fans, it's been a pretty positive transfer portal for the most part. Guys like Dylan Gabriel, we already sensed we're going to move on, but and then with Taylor Tatum coming, it's it is what it is, guys. But some pretty big news today for the Cotton Bowl. I know we've talked at length in the past about that venue and those two teams still playing there, but OU and Texas agreed to a contract extension to keep the Red River rivalry game at the Cotton Bowl through 2036. I'm gonna be 34 years old when that happens. That's scary. The thing that really caught my attention was the $140 million that they're putting into the renovation projects. Guys, you guys have been to that stadium. Obviously, I wrote a deep dive on it earlier this season. What do you guys think of this? And I mean, obviously we knew it was coming, but just the sheer length of the deal and the costs for renovating, it just kind of surprises me that that they went that route.
Yeah, definitely. I'm right with you. I was more excited about the 140 million renovations. Obviously, it's a historic venue, and you got to keep the game there, in my opinion, just because it's been played there for so long. Yeah, you could move it to like Jerry's World, but at the end of the day, having it and having the Texas State Fair right next to it, it's an event, a multi-day event. But yeah, those renovations are going to be huge. It's not necessarily like a nice stadium, like it's historic and everything, but it's kind of just a bowl. I mean,
seats, man, like in when you're in attendance, like as fans, like the seats are just terrible. It's so
this
claustrophobic.
year there was like that whole corner that had a bunch of crickets. There were crickets everywhere. I know there were some in the press box that were driving me insane middle of the third quarter. But yeah, I'm excited about the renovation, certainly. And I think, yeah, there's definitely benefits to having it be a home and home. But at the end of the day, this is part of what makes this, in my opinion, the best rivalry in college sports. So
Yeah, I think it's all about pageantry. The Cotton Bowl like sort of exudes that pageantry, and go read Colton's story. He kind of hits on that a lot when he dropped that. But I don't know. I looked into some of the renovations and just like more better concessions, better areas for fans to be social. I mean, that's kind of the avenue
More
that
comfortable is the word that the
yeah,
release used, and I think that's the overall like necessity that
right.
has been needed at that venue for over 20-30 years.
Right. And just I mean that's the direction that sports are moving is fans want social spaces. And I mean we see that even here at OU as they push for a massive entertainment district in the UMP area. So not surprising. I think the $140 million in renovations were certainly needed. But I think the Cotton Bowl is the right place for OU Texas. So
For sure, guys. Let's talk a little bowl game. I don't think we've potted since the bowl was announced, but OU and Arizona will be playing in the Alamo Bowl on December 28th. We will be down in San Antonio for that, bringing you all the coverage. We will still be podcasting during winter break. Don't worry. But guys, what did we think initially of the matchup? I just think it's a great matchup with two really good football teams. I mean, Jed Fish, the job that he's done over there in Tucson, bringing that team and program back, and especially in a tough Pac-12 conference. For me, if there's not various opt-outs from both teams, that this should be a very competitive game. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel won't be playing in it. There'll be a whole Jackson Arnold storyline with him playing in this meaningful game in San Antonio, guys. But what do you guys? Maybe we can even give early we obviously we don't know everybody that'll be playing in the game, but just early predictions, early outlook on the bowl game.
I think it'll be a great game. I think these are two teams. Like you said, the job Arizona has done, this was thought of as probably the worst Power Five football team just 2 years ago. The job that Jed Fish has done is incredible. The job that Brent Venables has done in year two, going 6-7 and then turning it around to 10-2. It's really impressive on both sides, and I'm excited to see. Hopefully, there aren't a lot of opt outs because I think this could make for a really good game. Overall, I think OU should have gotten into that top 12 and should have gotten a New Year's Six bowl. Good thing it's not a 12-team playoff because Norman would be in flames right now.
Well, Liberty Flames would have gotten in over him as a Power Five. I was an automatic Power Five.
About that? How about that? Nice.
Yeah.
But overall, obviously you don't know the opt outs yet. I would look for OU. I think OU probably wins this as the rosters stand. But who's to say what happens in the next couple weeks? And I think if Jackson Arnold does play, that's a really, really good game for him to kind of get his feet wet, have a full game to do that against a really good opponent heading into the SEC, where he's going to be facing like top 6 ranked teams from this season or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
7 with Texas, I think. So, but Jason, you got anything else to add on the bowl game?
I'm just really excited to see OU's defense versus Arizona's offense. I mean, we all know what Arizona brings. They have a lot of great receivers. Their quarterback's really good. And I mean, it probably is up there among high-powered offenses that OU will have faced this year. Obviously, with opt-outs happening, OU's defense, might not be at full strength. But
let's get into that. That was my next question. Not to cut you off, but who are some opt-out candidates? Let's just go around and choose some. For me, I think of guys like, I mean, obviously the big name that we're kind of watching and we'll get into in the next segment here, but a guy like Billy Bowman has me wondering, I think he would really benefit from another year in college, but the way he ended the year, guys, I think he 100% could go in the draft and do well for himself. So that's a guy I'm really watching. I think he went on the Rudy's show like this week or something and said, he hasn't really made a decision yet. Another guy though, that's been here a long time that I kind of leaning towards my opt out is a guy like Woody Washington. So the high pace offense that you were talking about, Jason, I think the secondary is going to be something to watch in this bowl game if, players like that opt out.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tyler Guyton, I could see him opting out if he even gets a chance 100%. To play. I mean, it's been Jacobson.
I think Tyler's 100%. Like the only one we can clearly say is not playing.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree to watch Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman. I don't know. It just depends. Obviously, it's not a New Year's Six bowl. It's the Alamo Bowl, and there's a huge difference there. But at the same time, it's a competitive game, and I think Brent Venables has these guys fired up throughout the entire season. Maybe Woody Washington wants to stick it out. But obviously, Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman, both NFL draft candidates. If I were to guess, I would say they both play the game. I would say even Woody plays it. I don't see a ton of opt-outs from this OU roster.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, you guys kind of hit it right on the head. Tyler Guyton, I would assume he doesn't play. I would assume Danny and Billy play as well. Man, if anybody, I feel like if any other opt-outs were going to happen, it would have to be from like people entering the portal in the next couple weeks and some guys that come to mind that haven't already entered the transfer portal. I mean, Javonte Barnes is a guy that I think could still enter the portal, could still opt out. But really, other than that, I mean, I can't really think of anybody else that comes to mind.
While we're on that subject, any other transfer portal predictions to watch for OU or NFL draft declarations? I mean, I know you mentioned Danny Stutzman, Lewis. That's one obviously to watch, but I think that's a guy that definitely comes back and is improves and plays in the SEC and bolsters his stock. I think Billy Bowman's a coin flip on the NFL draft. I really could see either way. I think Woody might go. Tyler Guyton definitely goes. He's projected as a first rounder in a lot of mock drafts. But who are some, definitely transfer portal guys that haven't entered yet? Because there's going to be more, we assume. But who do we kind of think? I know, Jason, you mentioned Javonte Barnes, and I think that's a good one as well.
Well, I think my mind goes to two positions here. Number one, linebackers. There's too many linebackers in this room for somebody not to transfer. I mean, if Stutzman comes back, you're talking about him. You're talking about what we saw at Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie was really good the second half of the year. Dasan McCullough, obviously. Jaron Kanek, who didn't have a good second half of the year at all, as playing time declined significantly. So I think there's got to be somebody there, and look for more of like a Jaron or a Dasan to leave. I mean, you wouldn't expect Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie after the year they had, and while their stock is rising here at OU, to leave, but who knows? And then I also think receiver. I mean, as it stands, correct me if I'm wrong, but coming back next year, Jaleel Farouk, Andrell Anthony, Nick Anderson. You've got Jaquez Petaway and Gavin Freeman fighting for the slot position. And you also got a guy like Jaden Gibson, who we saw the flashes. We saw what he can do this year. But is there too much of a spot for him? You got three guys already, Jaleel Farouk, Andrell Anthony, Nick Anderson, there to kind of fill your receiver role. But I don't know. We'll see. Those are the two positions that I think of mainly, though.
Yeah, I kind of go back to the edge. I mean, Ethan Downs said he's coming back. You have PJ Adebawore, who's really freaking good, who I expect to start next year. I mean, a guy that I always think of is going to go off each season is R. Mason Thomas. And each year he just battles injuries. And then, they say, oh, he's ready. And then he just doesn't play. He's a guy that I would continue to watch for. I don't expect him to transfer because I would assume, kind of like I did at the beginning of this year, for his role to enhance as they go into the SEC. I mean, the talent's there. It's just about staying healthy, and whatever else goes on. But maybe R. Mason Thomas is one of those guys that goes into the transfer portal as OU's signing class and freshman class. And their transfer portal class even sort of solidifies itself. So I don't know if that would be a wild card name for me to sort of look out for.
I think kind of going to the defensive line. I mean, just looking at some names, like I wonder about a Jacob Lacey. Obviously came in with a lot of high hopes, and definitely he would be a guy I would think OU and Brent Venables both would really want to keep. But however, I could see him maybe entering. And then Lewis, better than I do, but DeJoun Terry, does he have another year of eligibility?
He does, actually. Yeah. I was just about to throw him out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he also could be a portal candidate, just given the playing time and everything like that. But I think defensive line is one to watch. And then I have a defensive lineman in mind that OU could add, but that's for later in the show. So, but guys, we just talked about some portal candidates to enter. What's OU's biggest need in the transfer portal, do you guys think, Lewis?
I mean, tight end comes to mind. Like you can't roll into the SEC with Blake Smith. Caden Helms is good if he can stay healthy. Obviously, you've got David Mitchell coming in next year. But I think you got to go out and get an established tight end to really set the tone for that room. Offensive line is also interesting, especially with Savion gone now. You got him gone. Tyler Guyton's going draft. Who else? Walter Rouse and McCade Matoyer are probably done. So you're looking right now at Caden Green, a freshman at left guard, and a sophomore, Jacob Sexton, at right tackle. I think you got to go out and get somebody there. And then defensively, we saw this team attack the portal when it came to D-line last year. Maybe they do something similar with so many young guys coming in, but not a ton of established talent on that line. So who knows?
I really think I go back to, I know you guys say Taylor Tatum and Gavin Sawchuk have sort of established themselves in this room, but I mean, we walked into this year thinking Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes were going to be the established guys. And we saw how that that paid off for OU in the beginning of this year when they didn't have a semblance of a RB1 until Gavin Sawchuk seemingly got healthy midway through the year. So I think running back continues to be, one of those positions that they just need to, kind of like they did with wide receiver last year, to stock up on depth and really have, as Brent Venables would say, competitive depth.
Yeah, guys, we're running out of time here on the pod, so let's get through these next ones quick. Just real quick for me, I think everything you guys said, offensive line, tight end. I could even see on defense, like I mentioned, trying to keep Jacob Lacey, trying to keep a DeJoun Terry. I think defensive line is also maybe a need that could go. You can never have too many guys on the defensive line. I think corner, especially if you lose Woody Washington, if you lose, I think you can never have enough corners there. And then also, guys, kicker. I mean, we don't really know what's going on with Gavin Marshall. Zach Schmidt definitely wasn't the guy. So would it hurt going to go get a kicker? I know you got the kid from Moore coming in, but wonder if it wouldn't hurt maybe trying to go get an established kicker from a Power 5 conference. Guys, we haven't really talked about it, but Dylan Gabriel entered the portal. I don't think there's really much else to say. I think he kind of put his statement out there. I think, he probably wants the last word on this, but basically what it boils down to is he got what he needed out of his 2 years here in Norman. OU definitely got what they needed out of him. I think he looked at his draft grade, as the season neared, and maybe wasn't quite where he envisioned it would be. So hit the portal. I think it was the smart thing for him to do, and it looks like Oregon is probably the favorite to land him. I think he's visiting this week. A couple other schools in the mix, guys, but I think unless you guys have anything short to add there, I think Dylan Gabriel leaving speaks for itself. So
yeah, definitely. And I think that's a guy who all OU fans look at and say, yeah, I understand this move. Jackson Arnold is coming in. You did your job for 2 years. OU needed Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel needed OU. The only thing that would ruin that is obviously if he joins Lincoln Riley at USC, which I know that's one of the teams thrown into the mix there.
For sure. I think that would, for a lot of OU fans at least, that would probably sadly, erase from their memory all of the good stuff that he did while he was here. Guys, very quickly, just going to go through some quick news bits here that you can read all about on OUdaily.com. Well, maybe not this one, but the NCAA proposed a new, help me out, Jason, college athletics subdivision. Basically, Charlie Baker, the new NCAA president, is trying to carve out a direct athlete compensation type NIL model. So that's something to look out for. We obviously know OU has been very active in the NIL space, but this would correct me if I say something wrong, but this would pretty much allow schools to directly compensate athletes for playing for their school. So that's something to watch, and definitely something when we have more time we will probably dive into, both on OUdaily.com in print, but also on the pod. Scrolling through some news bits here. Big preps news and good reporting from our own Nick Coppola on this today. But basically, guys, the OSSAA, the governing body for Oklahoma high school sports, announced today that anybody who was previously eligible at a high school in Oklahoma can transfer one time without sitting out to any school in any district. So pretty similar to college football's one-time transfer rule, is how I understand it. But you can go, our own Nick Coppola talk to the OSSAA. He talked to Norman North's head coach. So you can go read all about that. And then, guys, real quickly here before we wrap up, a couple of OU events. Guys, what did you think of OU basketball last night? I mean, Javion McCollum drops 19. Milo Suzon, I think, had 17 and 12 rebounds, I think. I think it was a double-double. But between the Iowa win, I think we had Gracie on last week to discuss, but after the Iowa win, the USC win, blowing out a pretty good Providence team who whooped Wisconsin. What do you guys think of how Porter Moser has flipped the script and has the Sooners at 8-0?
Yeah, they're good, and I didn't think they would be good at all. I think really I'm still not fully convinced. We're still going to see when it comes to Big 12 play, and you're playing games against extremely high-powered teams every single week, sometimes twice a week. But Providence is a huge win, and winning in the fashion that they did, you can't just point to that and say, oh, Providence sucks. They got another nobody cares win. They're stacking legitimate wins now. USC was really, really good. Providence is a good win. Iowa, sure. But yeah, I think we're going to see come Big 12 play and that North Carolina game. That's going to be fun now.
Arkansas on Saturday. Be sure to keep up with OUDaily.com's coverage of that. I mean, Arkansas had a couple bad losses
It sucks,
here, but I think they beat Duke.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they had a couple bad losses early in the year, but upset Duke last week or 2 weeks, and we all know what Eric Musselman can get going over there, guys. But be sure to watch that one. Keep up with Gracie's work this weekend. She'll have full coverage live in Tulsa. But another OU school that is kind of, what's the word? beat expectations is OU wrestling. They come in at 4-1. You obviously got the new coach, Coach Kish, and they're rolling, guys. 4-1, big one this weekend. We'll have live coverage from a new reporter, Catherine. Will be there to cover that for us. Keep up with OUDaily.com for that one. But Bedlam's always huge here. It'll be at McCaslin. That place will be rocking. OSU's the biggest blue blood in wrestling. All the people will come out for that. So that one will be definitely interesting to keep up with. New coach, they seem to be rolling. So their only loss came, I believe, to Missouri, who's usually pretty good at wrestling as well, guys. But just a few announcements. We'll keep the pod going throughout leading up to the bowl game. We're going to have features, full coverage on whenever we get a press conference for the new coordinators. We're going to have full coverage of signing day like we always do. Lewis helping us out from Cincinnati when he goes home. Me and Jason will be there. Keep an eye out. This is what I was going to say with all those A&M guys leaving. I know OU was down to the wire with Dominic McKinley, 5-star defensive lineman committed to A&M. I heard Todd Bates went to his high school game the other night or is going soon. So that's just a name to watch to flip on signing day there, guys. But unless you guys have anything else, I don't know. What do you guys think?
That was good. That was a good speed run through the second half of the pod. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm a little out of breath. I'm gonna go get some water. But all right, guys, we'll talk to you guys soon. As always, we out.